Okay. So let's run this back, just, for you deep here. So for context, our squad is trying to push oops, they're not really by the respawn beacon. Our squad's trying to push an enemy squad that's over here on these buildings. Our squad had initially landed in Dome, which is like out here somewhere, right? Like on the minimap, and they had landed in like Lava City, which is like a little closer, somewhere out here. And then there's like that little complex of houses like near the gap over here. These distances are not correct. Where the gate kept us, and so then we went around to get in here, right? And so the reason like why, like, so this pushing this building back here is like not super in our favor, right? Like it is high ground and it can be difficult to approach from certain directions. And I actually think this is the wrong side to approach from now that I look at it. So the reason like why like this, we're even bothering to do this at all, even though they've got like the advantage of high ground and like the position already, is because no matter where we go on the map now, like given the shape of the circle and sort of like where we came from and where we know the other squads are, no matter where we go to be active on the map, like they're just gonna follow. They can just follow us, right? So like if we like go out like up here, right, and like look to fight some squads like over here, and like we hold the top of this hill and like try and like prevent people from passing over here into Geyser for whatever reason, right? Then these guys just walk out behind us and they shoot us in the back, right? Like they can hear that and they can see the fighting, right? They'll see the tracer rounds and stuff, and they'll just walk over and shoot us in the back, right? Like if we go like through here, through the vault tunnel, right, and find fighting there, they'll just walk through the vault tunnel and sandwich us and shoot us in the back, right? If we go out this way, right, and we start fighting over here, right, and they see like Gibraltar ults going down or whatever, then they can just get into the Geyser, right? And like if there's like a really bad fight like that's like over by like the harvester like gap over here, like they can just get in the Geyser here, jump forward, and then shoot us in the back. So it's like, and there probably aren't squads like over here because both of our squads like came from that direction. So pretty unlikely, right? So regardless, or like, it could be in the reverse, right? Like if any of the squads like come in this direction here, right? Except for if they come through the vault tunnel, right? Like then we're sandwiched between them and this squad now, right? So this squad here is like actually like a huge problem on the map for us. And so that's like why like we're trying to work in and expose them. Also because they've got charge rifles, and so like multiple on their squad have charge rifles, and so like squads that are like that have that kind of composition tend to struggle more at the close range because they just have less options, right? It's not like guaranteed, but like the like one of their weapons, right, like just sucks at that range, like out of the gate. So yeah, so that's like why we're doing what we're doing. Sorry, I know long context, but just trying to explain. And so like we're trying to work our way in closer. And so I actually, as I mentioned, I think this is the first error actually, is approaching on this left-hand side. This left-hand side approach is like really tough, right? There's a lot of open space here on this uphill push. And like not a whole lot of cover to work with. I mean, like maybe you could climb around in the back here. Like that does work. I think actually the easier approach is like over here, because if you look at it like from like sort of like where the triple bins over here are to like the building, right? It's like flat. Because you've already had to climb up a ramp further over on the right in order to like get over there. So I think this is actually the first error, is this angle of approach is poor and deficient. And so like we should have actually like, the safest thing to do actually like would have been to like go out and like pull an entire U back here to make sure they can't see us. Could have taken like the Geyser also. They're probably not going to leave their position to like come over and contest us. It's just like a little more obvious, and so we lose a little bit of the element of surprise. Sort of just depends on like how like how things feel and are shaken out in the moment. Like you could even cut across there. There's usually enough cover to do that too. But yeah, so I think that's the first error, is this line of approach. So yeah.
Hostile over there.
All right, so in a second here, like I'm like trying to see like if there's like a safe path through cover for my team here, and so like I'm positioning aggressively. Also, that zipline is like actually like atrocious. Like there's it's like super visible. I can't believe like they didn't die on it, honestly. And so this position here, like this piece of cover is like not great, right? And so like I'm like trying to see like if there's ways in, and I believe this is an error. Because this piece of cover is like not an efficient piece of cover, and like I'm losing damage exchanges on it. And really, to be totally honest, like if this grenade had been placed any better, right? Like if this grenade had been placed like right here instead, so that it was like on this side of this wall instead of being on the right side of the wall, then I would have been forced away from this piece of cover, and then I could have gotten charge rifled. And these guys have been at least decent with their shots, and so like one of them plugs me like hard and like hits me for like the the main damage payload of like the charge rifle, like I'm suddenly like on very low HP, right? So like, you know, if I got team fired or something like that, or like tagged by the edge of the arc star, like I would probably die. And so like I would be forced to use my void walk. So I think this is just like inherently like not a great position, right? And it's pretty clear that this approach line is like probably not the play. And so like what I'm going to wind up trying is going over here, which I think I should have done sooner.
Need to recharge my shields.
Blah blah blah. So teammates take the zip line, which is like actually insane to me. Actually insane. So I start looking around here for like a head glitch, right? This cover here is like super strong. So, you know, I think I should have been here sooner. You know, the enemies like are really playing like the backside of this, like for some reason, right? And like we're not seeing all of them showing. And so it's like really confusing, like what the heck they're trying to do. And then we're gonna see like one of them far off on the right here, the Gibraltar right here, like getting back together with the team. So I think they were like trying to like greed loot and like just didn't think that we were going to come back, and they're just trying to play super passive. I start to move forward here, and I'm like half contemplating like running like a super wide flank like this here, like because like this squad that we're facing has been like really stagnant and like non-responsive in general, like beyond like just trying to shoot us from their lazy position they're sitting in. Not lazy, they're just boring position that they're sitting in. And so, you know, like a solid flank for me like would be highly disruptive. Trade-off is that if I die out here, I'm completely unsupported and I die for free, and I just basically screw over my team. So it's like a pretty big risk, right? And it's like a very long distance, so I'm like not super keen on doing it, especially after I fire on the Gibraltar and hit no shots. So now they know that I'm down here, and then I get scanned, right? And so now they definitely know for sure, right, that I am down here on my own, separated from my teammates, and so that if I break out to the right, like they know I'm breaking out like alone, and they're gonna sag over, and they're all gonna like team fire me, and I'm gonna die. So I no longer have the option to go to the right. Right, so this is actually a situation where you probably should void walk, and I do, in order to get over to my teammates safely, because there's a lot of open ground to traverse. So this is like, I think probably like when they redesigned like Wraiths like Q, this is sort of like what they wanted it to be, how they wanted it. Just a few seconds to get my void walk back. I'm preparing to set up like an aggro port. This one up here is broken, the Bloodhound, I think. I'm preparing to set up like an aggro port to help us like traverse the distance and get in on them. Like realistically speaking, like even like this like little climb over here to the left of the door, as some of you may know, like just standing map knowledge, like this climb up here, like that. Hang on, let's draw a proper arrow. Not very good at drawing arrows apparently. Like that like is still somewhat exposed to these enemies over here. So I don't think this is like to play like around back here. Like this, I don't think like really solves our problem, because we'll just get pinned behind the bins back here anyways. And so, like, I really think, like, actually that, like, an aggro port is the way to get in here. I just think that the placement of the portal could have been... So on this side of things, like, at the start of the portal, right? I'm about to run an aggro port into the building beneath them. And I also let them know, good job, Frosty. So this side of the port, right, is, like... not great either, I think, actually. So in the event that we have to retreat through the portal, like I should have placed the portal on this side of the door. It's like a little bit tougher, and I'm gonna have to take a little bit of business as I start it. The reason why is because, you know, we want to be able to close the door. Like we want to be able to step through and close the door if we have to run a res, and place this door between us and like the enemies, right? So I actually think this port like is like, you know, the next error. But this first part, like, definitely could have been done better also. But really, I'm more focused on the ending. So the ending of this portal is going to wind up inside of the building, so that, like, you know, like, we're not going to be taking business from people on the high ground as we take it and enter, so that they're, you know, nice and safe and in cover. So I think there are two places that this portal could have been, we could have put this portal down. One is, like, right here, you know, on this side of the door, just completely prevents people from passing through. Like, impossible for people to pass through the door. And they'll get forced to take the portal. So this Bloodhound that was above us and shooting at us, you know, would not be able to pass through this doorway here. They might be able to see through it, probably can see through it, especially if they ult, but otherwise, like, you know, they can't like walk through it, right? The other option, and I actually think this is the one that I should have gone for, right, is to place it on this side of the door. And then to close the door on the way in. So what that'll do, right, is it makes it almost impossible for them to even open the door and open a line of sight on the inside of this building here without like accidentally taking the portal, right? And like, you know, if the Bloodhound like winds up accidentally getting in the portal and like effing around, right, like then that's like a solid like couple of seconds that they're just like not relevant to this fight like at all, right? And that's fine. And like, you know, by leaving it here on the low ground instead of climbing up onto the roof to place it, like it makes it an easy to access like exit strategy for our team, right? If it's like up on the roof, then that means like we have to climb. And so, you know, you could totally see a situation where we placed it up on the roof and the enemies are chasing us around and stuff. And then like you climb and like those few seconds of climb are like what like get you killed, right? So I think this placement of the portal is like okay, right? But it could have been much, much better. And I think this is the spot for it. And also the start of the portal. I'll peek around this corner here and like just get absolutely destroyed by like a hemlock. One with the hemlock around the corner here. Fix that gun. Like the 20 damage reduction does not fix the hemlock. It's not the problem with it. About here, I think this is okay. And then Bloodhound comes through this door. So this is like why I was saying like placing that portal on the other side, right? This would have completely prevented him from doing this, right? It would have forced all of them to approach us from one side of the building. The portal definitely gets in his way, so he can't just like W key into us. But I think better placement would have actually prevented him from even opening this line of fire on us at all. And then we'll see in a second. Bloodhound's like they just absolutely like eat my teammates alive with that PK. And so this is like I think the last error is like how I handle this last fight here. So I could attempt to do it, to escape by like running away like along the top here or whatever. I'm super not a fan of having to run away from a Bloodhound because Bloodhounds just run you down anyways. And so it's like, I feel like, you know, weighing the two options of, you know, fight or flight, like it's like, I feel like your odds of survival are actually a little higher capitalizing on whatever little damage your teammates have done here, as opposed to like trying to run away and make it like an almost impossible escape from a Bloodhound. You know, even though I am right, it's just hard to get away from them. I know from experience, right? So the first thing, like the first part, like of this last engagement here is dropping down. So I think I could have maintained a high ground. So like just like stayed on this step here, like right here, and like just aimed down. Would have been very hard for them to like walk through the door without me getting to shoot them for free. And then they like I would be on high ground and they like have to like do this weird thing like where they swivel around and like do a 180 to try and see me. And so like I feel like gives me like some solid shots on them for free. So that's like the first thing, right? And then like right here, could I have shut the door? No, I was too far from it. Yeah, I think that like that's really the best thing that I could have done was to hold the height. Like I was trying to use like corner peeks because like I've got an Eva, but there's a PK in play and there's really no way like I'm gonna be outclassing a PK anytime soon, right? Yeah, so I think that's like the last error. And again, the solution is just to keep the high ground and to try and make a play happen from there if I'm not going to run. I don't think going through the portal was an option. Because I would have had to walk forward into enemy fire and they knew I was like on that side of the doorway. So I think I still would have gotten clobbered for it. Yeah, so all in all, I mean, like this play overall was like not an easy one, and like teammates kind of just got eaten alive by the PK, which is not something that was really like on our radar at all. But I think some of the small things that happened here may have tipped like a few of our damage exchanges more in our favor and given us a better shot at things going our way. So that wraps up this analysis. I'm going to switch over to code.